I was in Grass Valley most of the day yesterday.
On a job?
Mm-hmm. 2 jobs. A tuning and then a removal of a player piano system that was on in a grand piano, probably from early 1900s. And when the woman had told me about it, she wanted it removed and disposed of. And when she had told me about it, I thought it was going to be an upright piano, which is a much simpler thing, sort of. They're both wild. But then I arrived and it was on a grand piano. I was like, I'll show you pictures later. Try to remember to show you pictures. It's an intense amount of shit. It's like a car. Like the level of sophistication of a car.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Under the hood.
Yeah.
Was under the piano.
Surprise.
Yeah. So I spent like 3.5 hours basically underneath a grand piano, masked and uninstalling this.
I think you got a strike for that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then disposed of it. And
so what'd you do with all the pieces?
Dumpster.
Okay. That always works. Yeah.
Or I mean, there's not much else to do in our present day.
So the apparatus that made it player, did that affect was it always on? Could it be played otherwise? Bypassing that somehow?
I don't know. It wasn't functioning. It hasn't probably functioned for,
a long time.
90 years.
Right,
But I'm pretty sure it could still play. There's nothing that would inhibit it as far as I know. But it was long dead and wild. Like some serious ingenuity went into those things.
I've seen a little bit about them as they relate to later punch card systems,
Yeah. It's this crazy, not all of them, but some upright player piano systems of old would use, those at least, this grand piano was electrical and pulleys and crazy shit. With a little bit of air power. Uprights were more wholly air power. You're pumping billows with your feet.
That's what makes it.
There's like hundreds of tiny tubes going in and connecting to each key, and then this will move this fucking thing, and then this will move this thing, and and they're scrolls, and the scrolls, the notes to play are marked by punches. And so the scrolls go over this bar of air shooting out. And so the scroll is rolling and going over this bar of air shooting out. And whenever there's a punch in the scroll, air will be able to get through.
Right.
And that triggers a key to play the note.
Yeah.
And
Rube
it's
Goldberg, all the way.
Ruth Goldberg.
Rube,
Rube
yeah,
Goldberg.
R-U-B-E, Goldberg. I have known the history, but all I remember now is that that term used as an adjective to describe a machine that's just enormously complicated and kind of unexplainable, and
To the
generally,
uninitiated.
yeah, with some, and if they were illustrated, like in a cartoon, there would be, bizarre parts, humorous inclusions and additions, and just to make it funny. But a Rube Goldberg machine is something that is convoluted and does
and it's
unexpected things. Yeah.
yeah, and at first glance you're like, is this necessary?
That's the first question. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's that's certainly what I've asked when I've encountered these things, these
Yeah.
systems. I'm like, why did you do this? Like, why did you go through all this beyond like a tinkerer's pleasure?
Mm-hmm.
And then it dawned on me that like, oh, of course, like this was before recorded music and jukeboxes. That's why they did it. Like,
Exactly why.
go to serious, heroic lengths
Yeah.
to make music happen.
Right. To duplicate it.
Yeah, yeah, to make more of it happen, and it's kind of like a democratization of music in some sense. Like you don't have to play.
Right.
It was that effort of you don't have to play music
In order to hear it.
in order to hear it and enjoy
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
the beginning of Spotify
That's
was a
exactly
play,
right.
you know.
Yeah. And I was thinking about it in duplication in this in that a piece would be rendered exactly the same as it had been before, whereas prior to that, if anything you heard was live and anything goes. No two performances are going to be identical the way they could be with a setup like that.
Yeah. So it was also a part of this.
It's a kind of recorded music.
Yeah,
Actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's just it's a sparks the idea that like how central that is, having music that can be duplicated, to getting to know a piece
Right.
and develop a relationship with a piece.
Right.
Because I suppose, of course, that still happens, like with the songs in the village that you know, and the songs that are passed
Right.
along, to some extent. But it's just this increasing intimacy and relationship with a piece of music.
Right. And with no clear model. I mean, I was thinking if I remember when you were learning the guitar early on.
Mm.
And sometimes you'd just be doing chords or whatever the homework was, I don't know how that. And sometimes you would listen to a passage or
Yeah.
some music and then try to duplicate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now that
Yeah.
so this that I thought about that because without a recording, every time you practice it, it's really kind of an experiment, because there's nothing. I'm assuming when you say if you would introduced to a piece of music and then required to play it.
Mm-hmm.
All you have is the paper, and the little marks and stuff, and that gives you the basics, but clearly there are ways to deliver that, any deliverance actually would allow for some individual coloring or.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always. It's like the way I'm thinking anyway is that it's like you're always making it up without that standard at hand.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's still in the ether, and each time you
Yeah.
call upon it, it's colored by the day,
Right.
and which is the case anyway. But
I suppose. Yeah.
but but there's the objectivity of music has just in some ways increased by at least
Oh.
having recorded music and
Right.
and
And versions that you can hear over and over and over and over.
yeah.
Yeah. It'd be a little like, I guess, composing, not necessarily writing. You could compose without knowing how to write, or without ever having seen things written down.
With recorded music, you're saying?
No, just speech. I'm thinking about writing now. I mean, what now is writing, but say for Homer or something, it was composition and recitation. Because hardly anybody could write.
So, Father,
I'm interested in extracting God from the interpersonal.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's me. Yeah, and there was a text from Jai.
That you got a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, here we are, the Porters.
Yeah. Still.
So, shall I start with
Sure.
that? It seems like that stimulated. You're intrigued.
Well, and just the notion of extracting God from the interpersonal. Uh,
Yeah.
like God is an enzyme or
Sure is.
some substance.
The ultimate.
Yeah, right. And I mean, and as an editor, I want to know what interpersonal means as a noun.
Sure, yeah. Because I guess it's generally
It's usually an adjective, yeah. So.
Okay, yeah.
Why not just leave God in the interpersonal?
Yeah, why extract God? What's the point of doing that? Does he need to be extracted?
Right.
Did
And
he
what kind of
request?
God could be extracted anyway? What kind of God is that?
Yeah, what kind of God need to be extracted?
Yeah, and why would that bother God? Yeah, like God being offended. So God's a snowflake. I don't understand gods like that. So
Well,
that's what
apparently,
interests me.
the God of most recent history was kind of a snowflake. So we just
Yeah.
just did away with that. Did away with him.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I guess where this is the ground out of which this idea has been able to come around. Okay, let's see here. So extracting God from the interpersonal. This is, yeah, the name I've given to point towards an experience I had this week in my weekly prayer and meditation time that I do once a week. Where I was and have been through my own doing very alone, and dealing with the fact of pushing people away in my life, in small, gradual ways and big ways, and was very much in this place of being marooned and alone, through my own doing, marooned myself, and so I guess that's some of the context that was pressuring this experience into being. Um, essentially what happened was in this private interior experience of meditation, I was very emotionally feeling into the love I've received from people and the love that I have, that has been between myself and other people, and that and in various forms. So I was spending time feeling the romantic love I've given and received, and that just exists, has existed between myself and my partners, and the brotherly love that's existed, and I was just feeling the different ways in which I've been bonded to people, the emotional bonds I've had with people, and how those are have been manifest through desire, love, camaraderie, admiration, even envy, longing, respect, joy, like that emotional connective tissue between myself and specific people in my life. And I was feeling into that connective tissue. I felt very distant from these people, and in that moment, by my own doing, and was just feeling into my relation to them, my own emotional relation to them, and and what I started to do was, as I was crying and doing so within myself, I was like feeling into those bonds, and I started to see that, at risk of repeating myself, that connective tissue as a entity in itself, like as somewhat distinct from the people, just like meditating upon the connection itself, and the subjective experience of it.
I think of a marriage.
Go on.
Which, and it might be true just for any relationship, that the relationship is neither one of you.
It's the third party.
Right.
It's the third in the trinity of.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So this. Yeah. Exactly. So this was a. Exercise. in hindsight, I guess, in meditating upon that third party, in the form of like very specific kind of feelings. Not so much the relationship as a whole, but like specific feelings I have and have had towards these people in my life.
And the feelings are indications or manifestations of God.
um, well, yeah, so I guess I gotta I'll walk there a bit more. Yes.
Okay.
Short answer, yes.
Yeah, I like them like that.
And podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, and specifically, so it started out with a more of a longing, and it was a more of a yearning, but I was moving more and more into the love of it, the desire of it, the admiration I feel for these people and have received, and then began to, as I was just feeling the emotion itself, I began to just kind of then feel out into and direct my mind and my feeling towards how those feelings have been, there's something eternal about them. I've felt love for other people. I've felt respect for other people. I've felt admiration for other people. And feeling into like the continuity of those experiences that weave around and through all of my relationships forever. And I was doing that out of kind of necessity, like of a need to depend less upon what I receive from these people, these specific people, because of the ways in which I've like only received and not given to them. And so this was this need to find something more within myself. It's very like a little vague, but like needing to separate those feelings from the people a bit in an attempt to make those feelings, make those that feeling of connection within myself, to reduce my dependency is kind of the intention. So that I can actually be just so I can keep going, and so that I could exist in some like just more whole way.
More apart, like that. Or?
I guess kind of like. Yeah, it's still kind of raw, clearly, but to reduce the dependency, because the dependency has been one-sided. And it was driven by a desire to be closer, but in order to do so, like, kind of, dare I say, like an addict, I needed to, like, reduce the dependency. And so I was doing that by just kind of intuitively feeling into my feeling of connection as it existed throughout my life.
Uh-huh.
And seeing how it has been, it is, that feeling of connection that I experience with other people. Of course, it's completely unique between two people, the kind of connection,
Sure.
but feeling into some, like, elemental nature of my subjective experience of it. That continuity of what Ade feels,
Mm-hmm.
in some sense, and in the barometer of connection. And had this kind of, so I had this experience of seeing all of those threads and feeling the beauty of that, feeling
Mm-hmm.
the beauty of those threads, and in that moment just kind of wove them together in my mind and began to meditate upon those threads, those interpersonal threads woven together as an entity in itself. And I called that God.
Okay.
I called that tapestry, that woven
Okay.
reality of love and connection and respect and admiration and awe, all in its various forms, but together I called that a kind of God. And as I and it was really powerful and shook me, like, physically, and made me just sob, and was this really healing sort of experience.
Yeah, I can see that. Good.
Yeah, and it sent it
So
yeah, it was
I have,
something fundamental. Like I've since,
yeah.
I've been very marooned, and since that, like, it's, I'm still going through a lot, but since that, something has, like, been grounded in me.
And so, of
Yeah.
course, this is related to what you said earlier about ending relationships or distancing people in the past.
Yeah.
And you said the for some people, you felt that, this is my paraphrase, felt that
Yeah.
you had gotten more than you had given. Yeah. And that you didn't like that.
No, I don't. I mean, it's carried as far as it has. Like, it's not a good enough game anymore. And clearly I provide something to relationships. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any.
Right.
But I've,
Well, good.
in
That's-
general, yeah.
That is profound. You'll learn some new stuff. Just because your view has changed. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So the identification of this network as its own thing.
Yeah.
Is that the extraction?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of isolating the elements and recognizing them.
Yeah. And pulling from the, like, visually, like the tapestry, the matrix of all of my relationships, pulling from each of those threads that prime essence of what made the bond, and and extracting it from interpersonal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's something that I think I'll continue to grow as an idea.
No doubt.
And and so part of why it's so important to me is, in some sense, it's like kind of saved my life. Just in some bouts of serious pain and darkness within my private experience. And I'm seeing that part of why I need to extract God from the interpersonal is I've had an intense need to be independent and self-sufficient, as well as an intense need to be close to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've been wrestling with that, as everyone is at some level. But I have an intense need to, I think, partially there's been some motivated by some distortions, but an intense need to, like, not be a burden, which in its positive light is to be like self-sufficient and to just be as complete of a entity as possible. Which just makes me even more able to be in relationship to another person. Like as dynamically. This is just stronger dynamic.
Well, but I mean, you're complete anyway. All the time, you know, inevitably.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Metaphysically, yes, we are all complete, but that completeness in the world, on Earth, egoically, has to be, like, at least in this world, made. It's not a, like, given. It's not a given. Yeah, becoming myself, becoming the complete, or complete, that's a tricky word, of course, because this also implies this like finished state, which I am not,
right.
but a tree, to be this ecosystem within myself. Of
Is that the prime identity?
It hints at it.
Huh?
It hints, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much more I have to say on it for now, but that's one round of extracting God from the interpersonal.
Yeah. It's not something you can just whip out in a morning, you know.
No, I guess, although I kind of did, but it gets whipped out now for ever? For life? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so
Okay.
where do you want to go next? I have another question here for you at some point that's not on your list.
Okay. Well, since it's Father's Day,
Yeah.
my favorite parts about being a father.
Yeah. So, fatherhood. What were your highlights?
Well,
It could be specific. It could be general. It could be themes.
The responsibility. I mean, thinking back to your birth, because that's really when it kicked in.
Yeah.
Responsibility is very vague and for me, it was kind of all-consuming in a way. And a little surprising, but not much. I mean, I think I was lucky in that I had some experience with sober, responsible men
Just in your life.
in my life, which is something that
That's
and
amazing.
I bring that up. I know. I didn't think anything of it because that's that's how my world was. That's what was going on in my neighborhood.
Like that was that was the norm.
That was the norm.
Episcopalian, right?
Well, yeah, there weren't many Episcopalians in the neighborhood.
Okay.
There were several Methodists and Baptists,
Okay.
and a couple of RCs here and there. But I know of, I guess, one other Episcopal family who went to St. Edmunds who lived, a couple of blocks away.
Yeah, but
anyway,
yeah, but that was
that's what it was like.
instantiated in you
and,
early.
Yeah, all over West Chesterfield. I mean, I knew almost everybody I played with came from or lived with an intact family. Mother, father, siblings. I knew one guy
Yeah, that's good.
in coming up through grammar school. Well, there was only one guy I was ever kind of friendly with who didn't live with his father. And we didn't really recognize the pattern then.
Yeah.
But the guys, most of the guys who didn't have a dad were assholes. We didn't really think of it that way. And, most of the time you never knew whether anybody had two parents unless you went to their house. Wouldn't show up otherwise. Anyway, I hear such different stories from my students, where Dad, not only was he not there, he was in prison, or was the local dealer, thug, or they didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the before times.
This is the before time. Yeah.
This is the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, and 40s and 50s. But about my fatherhood,
Yeah.
I liked almost everything about it. I mean, I can't think of anything offhand that just pleased me. I know, I liked changing your diapers.
Totally. Yeah, I can.
It was great.
Yeah.
I can
More than ever,
know
I can like cast out and imagine.
Yeah, I could know that it was done well.
Yeah. This is my baby, and
this
that
is
bottom
my baby. He is
Look at that
clean.
bottom. Look at that.
There's no rash, no nothing. He's in good shape. And that so I don't really understand men who refuse, or just assume that's not their job. Or
For you,
but I liked all of it.
you were
I was
down.
I was down with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we, your mother and I we didn't have any lines of demarcation in terms of responsibility.
Hmm.
And
You were
it
just
wasn't
both
something we never discussed
getting it
it.
done.
It didn't come up. But whoever was available would do it, whatever needed doing.
And there was no like gaps.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Because we were paying attention, and as long as you were smiling, it was fine. whatever it was necessary,
Hmm.
Yeah. And by the time Joe showed up, I'm sure I changed more of Joe's diapers than Janice did.
Really?
No question about it. And I potty trained him. No question about that either. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. And I think I've told you this. The main reason I quit my job was to be at home with you and Janice. Yeah, so why would I want to come down here? So that's really why I wanted to freelance.
What were you doing? I don't remember.
I was working at a children's book publisher who published, my 6 or
Okay.
4 maybe, and then 2 were done by their sister company. So that was just a technicality. Yeah, I had been, because when you were born, I'd been there 4 years. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I was most satisfied when I was with you and Joe, because I knew you were good. I could see it.
Yeah. And you.
I know you're okay, and you're going to be okay as long as we're together.
Yeah, and you wanted that responsibility.
Yeah, it was for me. It was as much a privilege as a responsibility, because
Thank God.
yeah. Well, it's just that I saw
Yeah.
fulfilling, and I can't say I could have verbalized all this then. But now I think I saw meeting that responsibility as a good thing.
Yeah.
And some people never got the opportunity to rise to that, whatever that height was. Some never valued it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a new guy in one of my classes last week who got locked up when he was 17. He's been inside since then. I think he's about 32, something like that. And
Jesus.
And
Okay.
he has 6 children. He got 6
There's only so much I can compute.
He got 6 baby mamas.
What does it mean?
Before he reached his 18th birthday.
Oh my God!
And he's been in
Holy
prison
shit.
ever since. Yeah.
Whoa.
So that's kind of the, one of the horror stories. But yeah,
I guess that's fucking crazy to try and
I know it seems crazy to me.
but and I suppose like there's some level historically of that being normal.
Oh yeah,
Johnny Appleseed.
right, right. That's what was going on in his neighborhood.
Spread the lineage.
Yeah, right.
As far as possible.
Yeah, I'm straying here. I don't want to get into
Okay. We can.
into the punishment industry.
Yeah, that's its own conversation.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So I liked pretty much all parts of it. I didn't like, and I'm talking about little kids here.
Okay.
Because there's nobody, those 4 o'clock trips to put you on the bus to go up, on the snowboard team. That was no fun.
In high school,
you
were
the chauffeuring and all that kind of stuff is really drudgery. It's got to be, it's got to be done, but
that was a tough one to
that's no fun.
get stoked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're going to do something worthwhile.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
that's why,
know the reason.
Right.
It was harder to find the
pretty dull.
pleasure in the.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, thank you for those trips.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was. I mean, to just briefly speak on, and I've said it before, but to speak on that era of snowboarding team. Yeah, that was a tough time, and shout out to that Ade. We are kind of the same in some ways, like right, at the edge of my personality, and really just depressed and on the verge of the next operating system. And to do the team was a really good thing, and in hindsight I feel very grateful for how encouraging you were in that. Like I saw I see now how much you were helping that along and trying to make that happen. Like you saw that click with me, and you very much tried to foster it, and even if that meant boring ass drives with all these like suburban parents. and bless you, Father. I'm grateful. Really grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, good.
Because that was also like the team was, and the whole experience was a huge like what's the word I'm looking for? It was the first time that like I had done track and I enjoyed that in a way. I'm very glad I did it, but snowboarding was like the first time I really enjoyed a sport, and it was so crucial at that time too to be to have that physical experience and to be training and um, and yeah, being on a team
Yeah.
was very, very valuable.
Yeah.
Very valuable for me.
Good. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh,
All right, I'm gonna go pee.
okay.
BRB.
Do we need a lead in or anything?
No,
No. Okay.
sort it all out, and we don't have video.
Yeah.
Working out the bugs. That's too bad. This has been a good one, but there will be more.
Yeah.
So yeah, just continue this. Let's keep going on the fatherhood train here, and can talk about Ashlyn. So Ashlyn was this little 10-month-old girl that I met yesterday at the home in which I was working.
Oh, in Grass Valley.
Yeah, the place where I was gutting this piano, where a piano was getting gutted. I wonder how much I'll be practicing and retracing my grammar in this podcast experience. Probably an endless amount.
We'll see.
And yeah, there was two girls, one Adeline, who was like, I think she was maybe 6 or so, and then Ashlyn, who's this 10-month-old, this beautiful little girl, and just the cutest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah.
And and I wanted to bring her up just because it's just I'm thinking more and more about children, and I'm more and more certain that I want them than I have been in the past. And discovering that desire within myself to have kids and that home, rich family life that dances with being a touring musician. I really want that machine of life. And so she and I we just hit it off immediately. Immediately in love, and spent some time just lots of eye gazing and just, loving each other, and then when I would left the room, I would come back around and see her walking towards me, just walking away from her parents and walking towards me, and I was like, yeah, that's right.
Right.
we're tight.
Yeah.
And it made me, in the experience, just looking into her eyes, it's just so, so beautiful, and it's amazing, and I guess it's highlighting and this increasing discovery of my wanting to have kids, and I was just seeing how I've always felt a kind of depth with babies and really young, always felt an immediate just love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like beyond just like, oh, you're cute. Like
Right.
it's always been this very deep, like, I see you, baby.
Yeah. Right.
And you see me, and we're in love now, and and I guess, yes, so that I've always had that kind of experience, and I guess that was illuminated in seeing her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that, like, because it hasn't been a very conscious desire of mine for most of my life.
Yeah.
Um, but now it's just ringing so much more, and um, and that's so much of what I would. That moment of looking into her eyes and seeing her, as like as a knowing little godchild. Yeah, that's why I would want to be a father. Is contained in that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to further my blood, and it's not to. I mean, it's a lot of things why I would want to be a father, but it's
Yeah.
that is some essential quality of it. It's the
Mm-hmm.
knowing, is the getting to know this person,
Mm-hmm.
and the depth of, and like potential purity of knowing this person, in relationship with this person, and yeah, and a knowing that's like unlike any other,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and yeah, and it's all like it's really, really emotional and intense. Like, I'm just getting assaulted
In the best kind of way, yeah.
with these just dreams, and in some ways feel like I'm just kind of catching up, like having to catch up, like
Mm.
like, oh, has everyone already been thinking about this? And probably not.
No, no.
In all honesty, probably most people don't think at all about the future.
Not enough to talk about now.
But that's what it feels like to me. It's like, my God, like, where have I been? And and yeah, it was a really, really beautiful experience, and it made me also be like, oh yeah, a boy and a girl, like, that'd be sick.
Mm-hmm.
That would be yeah, to have the experience of a son and to have the experience of a daughter.
Oh yeah, I hear that's very different.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I want both. All
Yeah,
of
which
it.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted. I think I wanted girls, as I recall.
Did you?
Or at least I thought, yeah, that a girl would be easier for me
Oh.
because there's only so much I'm going to be able to offer. and a lot of was going to be Janice, or
Oh,
you know, and even
sure.
before that, you know, just
Sure.
that a girl would mean more work for a mother than for a father. I don't know that
So it
that's
seems.
so it seems. I know,
Yeah, it
and I
could
don't
be
know
the
that that's
exact
true
opposite.
at all.
It could be the
Right.
prime opposite.
Yeah. So, but of course, that's not even close to what happened. So,
Nope.
yeah, not at all. Um,
Last thing here.
Vitality.
Um,
So when you're I don't even know what to ask you. I mean, it sounds like you would be. I would have guessed that the vitality would maybe go away when you stopped playing or
this is my This is my
working.
question about, or prompt of vitality returning when I started playing.
After playing / working on music.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, I've experienced this a number of times in times where I'm not as focused on music, which has been lately. Um, I've been kind of worshiping other gods
Mm-hmm.
in a way, in a kind of effort to, yeah, further elaborate myself, individuate myself. Um, and I was just totally burnt out after work yesterday. It wasn't a long day. I was burnt out, felt kind of sick. And I felt like, oh,
Mm.
some warning bells going off. And I was like, oh God, I can't do anything. What do I do with myself? And just started to play guitar and started to look at the song Alex and I are working on. And then just as happens, just then spent, an hour and a half down a tunnel of working on it and got some
Uh-huh.
real work done. And felt, yeah, great, vital, and was
Huh.
promptly, yeah, made aware again of man does not live by bread alone,
No.
and
I see.
the act of making music, and most of all, heavy metal, is like, in this life, a core part of what Ade needs to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And and I wilt if I'm not getting enough of that fertilizer, of
That
specifically
makes sense.
making music.
Mm-hmm.
Also playing, of course, but making music and
Composition.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like critically vital. And it's the difference between like wilting and dying, basically, and imploding, or like feeling amazing. And there's not much in between.
Okay.
Like it's the precondition for feeling amazing for me. And it doesn't matter what else I'm doing. If that isn't happening properly, like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It does, but at some like level of, yeah, vitality and excitement and quality of life, it's essential. And I guess that's just something I have wrestled with over last years, when that's become a question, because it's when it's had to be and is becoming more of a deliberate choice of being that, rather than just by default that's what I do, which it was for so many years. It's now a choice to value that or not, or to act upon the value. And yeah, and it was really important to see that, because there's a lot of stuff I want to do, but it doesn't have, and the things I want to do don't have to conflict with music and building a career of music, which I've kind of vaguely assumed they would in the past. They don't have to conflict at all, but it does. The top of the hierarchy of just what I am most interested in, like bodily, like what I get the most mojo from is making heavy metal. And it's a kind of fact that around which all these other interests can feed into and orbit, and but it has to have that core, and it was really important for me to see, and it's so tied to everything I'm going through in some sense, like the central dream of becoming a fucking guitar hero is still the case. It's still the same. There's a lot more within the dream, and it's still that at the basic of it, and so I think what I'm taking from that right now is a kind of, and how I'm needing to go forward with that is in a kind of fatherly way, perhaps, of recognizing, like, you need this, child self, me, like, you must do this, like, eat your peas,
Right.
like, this isn't an option. Well, that reinstating that level of strictness that I have had throughout my life, but with more understanding, I guess, of why I do it, and being more objectively a kind of a father to myself in that way. Like, like, you need this job and you will do it because I love you and I want you to live. And yeah, and I've been in a time of getting like maybe 1 day of music a week,
Oh,
and that's just,
yeah.
I'll fucking wilt and die,
Mm-hmm.
or like kill myself if I continue to do that. It's not an option, and I've had to, I guess, come to really dramatic terms with that in order to affirm it, and
It's good.
yeah,
Some people don't know what they need. You know,
it's true.
don't recognize it.
Yes, it's true. Mm-hmm.
So knowing is a big step.
Yep, and you gotta it depends on the decision to want to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way you'll pay attention to what you need, because now you're a living child to care for,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to want that child to live.
Right.
And
Yeah. That's not automatic.
nope. No, you have to decide that that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to decide that, yeah, you should live, that you want to live, that it would be good if you did. It'd be better if you did than not. It is better to be.
Than not to be, yes. I think that's true.
I think it is too.